Hello, my name is Randy Brown. I am a top 10% Etsy seller, and I've been selling on Etsy for about 2.5 years. I will probably repeat this a lot, but there are quite a few paths to success on Etsy. It's more of a case of what works for you and what can you do to improve your shop. So today we are doing an Etsy shop critique for a shop called Manalucerna. We're going to get into that in just a moment. First, I'm on the main page of my shop, and my shop is called We Crafty Creations. I have 422 sales, all 5-star ratings, and I have 63 active items, active listings at the moment. I do need to add some more. I have my categories here. And here are some of my items. I do have a lot of sales. I have a lot of happy customers. I have some really nice repeat customers. So let's go over to the shop that we are critiquing today, and that is Manalucerna. And this shop belongs to Brittany. It's been open since 2020, and it has 95 sales, which is really great. The shop sells candles and wax melts. They are made with soy wax and 100% essential oils. There is an emphasis on healthy, all-natural ingredients, which is really special. And there's places throughout the shop that she mentions that and kind of puts an emphasis on that. It's really important, in my opinion, to have a specific niche. These aren't just candles. They'll appeal to people who like candles, for sure, but they'll also go really well with people who are more health conscious and who are interested in healthy candles that aren't as hard on your lungs. Fumes coming from them that might be not so good for you. So just looking at the shop at the very top, the first thing that we do notice is there isn't a banner, and we really should have a banner on there, and that the logo is fairly basic, black and white, no colors or anything. And then over here at the owner's photo, the shop owner, we just have a picture of a candle. So the whole point behind a banner and a logo and all those things is for the buyer, when they happen upon the shop, for them to feel connected to the shop. Some kind of connection, some kind of an emotional reaction. And so they're not getting that. To be completely honest, the average person who buys something from you on Etsy is not necessarily going to ever even end up on this page. They're going to search for something, they're going to find a product like this, and they're going to end up here. And then they're going to make their selection, and they're either going to buy it or not buy it based on what they see on the actual listing. But if they are on this page and they wonder, what else do you have? Or this is not exactly what they were looking for, and they're wondering if you have something a little bit different, or they want to buy more than one, something like that. That's how they're going to end up over on the page. Another way that they would end up on your main shop is if they're directed there through social media or something. You actually drop your link to your shop, and they get to your shop that way. Now, when we go a little bit further, first glance, what I see when I scroll down in the shop is a very bright, fresh, summery feeling. This is not necessarily a bad thing. For me, when I think of candles, I think of a fresh smelling home, and so you want it to look all nice and clean and bright and cheery. However, I do also consider candles to be more of a fall and winter type item. I use them a lot more during those times of the year, and this does just kind of make me feel like summer right off the bat. Just the bright yellow and blue and green. There's just a lot of bright colors throughout the shop, especially in the top four in your featured. But then when we go down a little bit further too, we see a lot of orange and yellow and bright blue and pink. And like I said, there's nothing wrong with that. It just doesn't necessarily give off as much of a fall feel. So if you wanted to do that, you could just change out some of your main listing photos to look more like some of these over here on the right hand side with a Christmas tree in the background, or just the wood, and leave off the bright colored silicone sleeves on more of them, or just have those on the secondary pictures a little bit more. It's just an idea. It's definitely not required. It's definitely not going to be a make or break thing at all. And then we're going to go on to look at some of the listings. Now, some of the listings have really full titles that have more complete keywords. So we've got orange and vanilla candle, 8-ounce soy candle, mason jar candle, candle with essential oil, aromatherapy candle. You might have some people look at this and tell you you've got the word candle in here too much. From the average person who's looking at this, they're probably not going to notice, but some buyers might notice and think that they're seeing the word candle too much, and it might bother them a little bit. Not necessarily keep them from purchasing, but it might catch their eye. However, you're getting exact matches for each of these groups of terms. So if someone searches for 8-ounce soy candle and you don't have that in here and in your tags, then it's not going to necessarily put you quite as high in the ranking than if you have it in here. So that's completely optional for you, but we did find that this particular listing was really high in the rankings. For example, for mason jar candle, when we do the search, there's 4 ads at the top. Those were all paid for to be there. And then we scroll down and we get to the second row, and the very 4th item on here is this listing, and it's under mason jar candle. So this item has sold a lot. It has favorites. It has reviews. And so that is why it made it all the way up here to the top. But also it has the exact match for those 3 words in that same order in your title. And I'm fairly certain that they're in your tags. So that's why that pops up here. So when someone's searching for mason jar candle, they're seeing this right away. One disclosure that's really not a big deal, but there is personalization to this. So if I live in Washington State and I have bought more things from people who live in Washington State, for example, then yours might not show up as the 4th because you're on the other side of the country. And so they might show me a few more things at the beginning that are local to me because they have this personalization factor, because computers are so freaking smart that they're able to tell those things, and as the algorithm works that way. So if I'm more likely to buy things with free shipping, they might be more likely to show me things with free shipping. If the list goes on and on. It shows the personalization. So it's not always going to be the 4th item for somebody, but it's generally going to be fairly up there in the ranking for anybody who's searching for that search term. And then when we go and take a look, or how many searches there are, actually, excuse me, mason jar candles get searched an average of 377 times per month, with a competition of 20,000 other listings that have that somewhere in there. Not necessarily exact matches, it's just somewhere in their search words. And it's got a 68% click-through rate. And then we also could take a look at mason jar candle as a singular. Etsy doesn't care if a customer searches for the plural or the singular. It'll show it to them the same. But eRank, the way that they work, they have to have that separated. They don't have a way to make that combined at the moment. So you can combine these two, this 188 plus that 377, and you can combine those 2 together because that's actually how many times people are searching for one or the other. And either way, you're going to be right up there in the search. So if I go back and instead of mason jar candles, I search for mason jar candle, it should be really similar. It's not necessarily going to be exactly the same, but it should be pretty close. So actually it's better. You're 3rd instead of 4th after those ads. So that's a lot of searches per month for you to be this high up in the rankings. So when people find this, we want to make sure that they purchase it. And one thing, if you just glance at these and see what else competes with you, yours is the brightest, most summery looking one. We've got some here that are colorful down here, but they even threw in kind of a fall theme. So that just makes me feel a little bit more confident that having some more fall look behind it would be good. Now these guys right here, they might be fall scents, and you don't necessarily want to stick a pumpkin behind your candle when your candle is citrus orange and vanilla. You don't necessarily need a pumpkin there, but I would recommend considering doing a picture without the sleeve. You have other photos in your arsenal that don't have that sleeve. That might be a good option. So we'll talk about that in a minute, but that's something to consider. So for some of your other listings, for example, this one, the lavender and vanilla. See, it says lavender and vanilla, and then there's the space between. Nope, you fixed it. Great, that's awesome. So you went in and you added candle a couple more times, and then you also added unique gifts and some of these other things. So we're experimenting, and we're going to try and see what difference this makes and improves the listing. So that's awesome. I'm so happy that you had time to do that already. It looks like you did that on all of these, and I just hadn't updated my screen yet, so it's slowly updating itself apparently. So yeah, working on getting more complete tags in there. You're okay to fill up every single part of that title, and you just want to make sure those tags are really full with multiple keywords, and you want to match as much as you can in your tags, your title words. So you might not be able to fit orange and vanilla candle as one tag, but you definitely want to get mason jar candle, and whichever ones we're finding have the best search, and we're working on that right now. If 8-ounce soy candles is having a really good search term and a lot of searches, then we want that one in there. But then you can also put orange and vanilla, and you don't have to have the candle again in the tags necessarily, but I think this title is really good the way it is, and we don't want to mess too much with a bestseller. Changing the photo is one thing, but changing a bunch of tags and changing the title is a whole nother story, and we want to be really careful with that. The descriptions are really good, are really detailed. They really do put a emphasis on natural essential oils, no dyes added, no chemicals, reusable upcycled mason jar. These things are right with your target market and who you're really going for. So that's awesome. And then you've got a couple of just really nice little sentences here that explain that a little bit more. What I would do is copy and paste these to any of your listings that maybe don't have all of this in the description. So maybe they're really short, and you might want to go back in and just copy and paste, and then you just change the essential oils used, or whichever little spots you need to change. You can make those little changes. That's going to really help overall. If somebody lands on this and they like it and they're ready to buy it, but for some reason they have a question about it, and they want to make sure that it is soy and that it is with essential oils, and that you're not using, these other fragrances and stuff, then they're going to get that information there, and it's going to give them the trust that they're actually going to be willing to take that plunge and make the purchase. So that's really important, especially if they happen to be somebody that has a health issue, or they're giving it to somebody who has a health issue. So the other thing I wanted to mention with the photos is that you have some really great photos on your Instagram account. And I would use some of these photos in your shop. You can use them in the listings. There's also other places that you can add photos when you're in your shop. So shop updates, I believe it's called, is where you can add more photos. There's, of course, the owner photo and things like that. But like this one with all these on the shelf here, the photos of your products in the making, these are great. Definitely use them, and people will feel more confident that you're actually a handmade seller, that you're not getting these candles from China and just repurposing, reselling them here, that you're not doing something like that, because that is something that people do on Etsy. So this just builds that trust with the buyer and builds that connection with them, because they can picture their candle being made by hand, and that really just makes a big difference for a lot of customers. And when your buyers put photos in as well, when they put a photo with the review, that's really nice. And you can always ask their permission to use that photo in social media and other places, and generally they're more than happy to do that. So you go to settings, and then you go to about your shop, and then you scroll down and there's shop photos. And so you can add photos here, and then you can add a little description as to what the photo is about. And then you also have a spot here now that has a shop video Videos are really great. Etsy is really big on people adding videos to their listings, so it is highly recommended that you make some videos. And you don't even have to make videos. You can literally make a slideshow of 5 photos, and that's a video. Or you can make a GIF that's just something twinkling in the corner of a photo, and that's a video. But as you can see from my shop, there's a little thing in the corner when there's a video there, and so that is going to be something special that Etsy is going to feature more and more. The last thing that I wanted to show is just some photo editing that we can do. So we have this peppermint and vanilla candle, and I added a little peppermint candy in the corner, and I'm not so sure about that because your products are natural, so they don't necessarily need this candy in the corner. It's totally a personal preference for you. But then I redid it and I removed the background and I added this little woodsy background to it, and then I added this little sprig of mint. So something like that for the citrus, a little slice of orange. You know, there's so many options available for that, and I just thought that was a cute idea and something that could really work for you. You could also do different backgrounds, and you can tell me what you want, and we can work together on making some of these. We could put something with a little bit darker wood. That wasn't much darker. We could do something with even darker wood, but you get the point. We can play around and make these photos, do a couple edited photos, and it doesn't necessarily need to be your main listing photo. However, when we were looking at the mason jar candles here, I scrolled around and I saw, well, this one has just a big giant thing to show the ingredients, but they had another one. Well, here's one. We can look at this one. So this has blackberries. And then if we go to, they have 1,200 sales. So this is obviously a very successful Etsy shop for candles, one of your competitors. And if we look, there's a little sprig of mint right there on that first photo. And here's one with oranges. And here's one with the pine cones, this whole pine scented type thing. This is balsam fir, white tea. So they're doing this a lot. It seems to work really well for them. You don't have to do this. This is not a requirement at all. It's just another idea, just something that we could experiment with. Take just 2 or 3 listings that aren't doing well and revamp some photos and then list it and then just see how it goes. So anywho, this is a really great shop. You're doing really well. You've got a lot of things filled in here. You've got policies filled in here. You have your Facebook and your Instagram attached. You have a nice little about section down here. You have really great reviews. So there's tons and tons of positive things. Just a couple things that we can really work on. And I think we can get a ton more sales on the shop.